coming up on Mic'd Up.
The most important thing is to listen to your own voice and to build a relationship with the universe and try to figure out the reason why you were born. The two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figured out why you were born.
Welcome to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DeChocho. I'm bringing you inspiring stories and insights from entrepreneurs, award-winning authors, thought leaders, business and mindset coaches, peak performers, entertainers, and other talented individuals who are excited to provide you with the ammo needed to level up and achieve your greatest dreams. All episodes are available on audio and video at mikeduppodcast.com, M-I-K-E-D up podcast.com. Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the show. Our guest today is a graduate of Parsons School of Design. He began his career in commercial photography and then quickly made a name for himself, advancing into the world of contemporary fine art. Over the years, his signature style, it's a film style, has evolved into other art forms, including neon light installations and the revolutionary photo sculpture. His work has been shown in multiple exhibitions over the last decade and has been featured at many of the most prestigious art fairs. Welcome to the show, the extremely talented David Drebin.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here, brother. I love your story. I'm really excited to bring this to the audience today. You're super talented. Let's start right back at the beginning of your story, because a lot of people, they might not know your origin story. Love you to color this in, if you will. When did you first have that interest in photography and art? And what were some of your early influences?
So I never really had a interest in photography or art, actually. I thought I was going to be a waiter. I was in my early 20s. I was living in Vancouver because I'm Canadian. And I was a little bit lost trying many different things. I tried acting school in New York. I tried cooking school in Vancouver. And I had a roommate who was studying photography. And I thought, you are the biggest loser in the world, that you think you're so creative and so artsy that you're studying photography. I actually had so much disrespect for him trying to be a coolio. I kind of forgot about it. And then one day he came home and showed me all these unbelievable black and white photographs of his coworkers. And I looked at these images and it was like their souls jumped off the page. It was like magic to me. And at that very moment, I saw my whole career and rest of my life flash in front of me. I thought, listen, I know I was a little bit judgmental of you being this like cool creative guy, but you've inspired me to actually make my own photographs. I hate to admit this, but you are my inspiration and this is what I want to do. And I'm done. And that was it.
That's awesome, man. So how old were you in your early 20s?
I was 21. I'm 52.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah.
I've been doing this obsessively for 30 years. And so after that, I went to photography school in Vancouver, which was an incredible foundation for me to go to New York City. I thought, okay, if I want to do this, I need to move to the toughest place in the world with the most opportunities. So I figured out a way to enroll into Parsons School of Design in New York City, came to New York City, and I've been obsessed ever since.
If you guys are listening right now and not watching, you're missing out. David has right behind him, he has the New York City cityscape right behind him. It's a beautiful shot. That would make for a great photo right there. I want to ask you a little bit about your style too. I love the cinematic style, and David has just a beautiful website, daviddrebin.com. Don't worry about trying to spell it. It's in the show notes and clickable. It's one of those that you have to go check out because it's a really cool website, number one. And he has a lot of his artwork featured there, his photography featured. We're going to talk about some of the styles, some of the exhibitions that he has things in right now. But as you're listening to this, I definitely recommend that you pop over there. Tell us about the cinematic style of your artwork. When did that kind of become your thing? It's kind of your trademark, if you will.
I'll tell you, I used to walk around the streets of New York City with my camera looking to take photographs. And then I realized that I would come home at the end of the day and with not a single frame. And I realized instead of taking photographs, I needed to make photographs. And the way to do that was to master not the camera, but the lighting. And lighting is a very big part of photography and cinema and film. So I learned how to use lighting outside, and I developed my own cinematic style through experimentation with different lighting techniques.
So you started off kind of using natural light and then went more into studio light as you got your expertise grew and you understand like cross lighting, key lighting, backlighting, and different things like that. So someone who's looking to get started, they're interested, they're like maybe they know you and they love your artwork and they're like, man, I want to start my own version, my own career similar to what David did for himself. Maybe they have a little bit of a budget, they don't have all the gear. I'm a big fan of Robert Rodriguez. I know he shot like one of his first movies with $7,000 budget and like not a lot of film and not the greatest camera and stuff. I have a respect for people who are artists who use what they have opposed to need the equipment to make something great. So can you talk about that story of how you can get started on a budget?
Not really about having the right equipment. The best equipment you have as an artist is actually your imagination. It starts with a dream in your mind, and then you just have to figure out what your vision is. And the only way to find your vision is to explore over and over and over again. You're never going to get it right the first time. But if you try again and again and again, it's like cooking. If you love to eat, you want to learn how to cook, I'm sure your first dish isn't going to be great. But if you're obsessed, eventually you're going to learn how to put the right spices, blend them together, the right heat in the stove, on the pan, barbecue. And then all of a sudden, after trying to cook for a long time, you're like a master chef. It's the same with anything. It just takes time. But a lot of people are very impatient. So you have to learn how to become very patient over time. And it should be an emphatic yes. To be an artist and to be an entrepreneur, and even in relationships, if it's not an emphatic yes, then it's a fuck no.
Yeah, you're either all in or you're all out, right?
Yeah, for me, all situations for me are either fuck yes or fuck no. There's no maybe. Fuck yes or fuck no.
Mm-hmm. So you're committed. Like when you have a vision, you say, I'm going all in with this. And I could see that in your artwork. Like you take chances, you're not playing it safe. Just really well done. And I think that's great for anybody to listen to right there. Like, I like that you said the word obsessed. I think a lot of people are afraid to say they're obsessed with it. I mean, the best of the best, the reason that they are so great at what they are is because they put those extra hours in. They're obsessed to their vision and their mission, and they're going to do it no matter what. And I have that similar obsession around podcasting. You have it with your photography and artwork. Someone, playing basketball has it around their gift and talent. So I think that's really well said. And I like that you said it goes back to the imagination, because what I started to think about when I asked you the question was, you see a lot of these movies come out today and they have like $1 billion budget and the movie is just, it's just garbage, right? And it's like great special effects and all this stuff. And some of the stuff is just not really well written. There's no story and the imagination behind it is weak. And they're trying to cover it up with basically putting a magic show on for you and all kinds of stuff on screen. What you just said is great. It comes back to the original beautiful idea. Just like in a song, it could just be piano with nothing else and be an absolute beautiful, vivid piece of music. It doesn't need all this extra stuff, big budget for it to be beautiful. It could simply be a piano, a few notes on there, and it's a beautiful thing. Like you said, you're all in. You're invested in it. You're not half-ass in it. You're not playing it safe. You're all bought in. Love that. And what I'm going to piggyback on that too is I have a note here. Your artwork is collected worldwide, and you're represented in some of the finest art galleries. There's Camera Work, Contessa Gallery, Fahey Klein. Am I saying that correctly? Among some others. Have you reflected on that?
I'll tell you something. I actually don't work with Fahey Klein anymore. Fahey Klein was the first gallery that gave me a chance. And if it wasn't for them, I never could have built this. But they're a photography gallery. And when I expanded into other art forms, neons, sculptures, etchings on glass, and now the Diamond Dust collection, it was kind of beyond their scope. So you need to find the right people who have the same vision as you. They're a pure photography gallery who gave me my start, but they didn't come with me along for the ride. And they were the most prestigious gallery of all my galleries that I was working with at the time. But then I found other incredible galleries who understood my vision. So they kind of were accepting of me in the beginning, but then they kind of held me back. So I don't even work with them anymore. And I was once very impressed with them, but now, because of my other art forms, I don't care anymore. because they didn't understand the vision.
Yeah, that's a great message too, because we're constantly growing and we kind of grow out of different environments, right? I mean, you have that appreciation. I think it's great that you respect them. They gave you kind of your start and your first prestigious or whatever it might be called gallery, right? You're getting that spotlight moment, but now you're just in a different place. Your creativity is different, your vision's different. So you're in other galleries now that maybe appreciate more of that cutting edge and advanced thing. But I just want to ask you about that though. So have you reflected back on it and kind of seen your progression and have an appreciation for it? And what would you say is like the most surreal moment that you've experienced so far?
The most surreal moment I've experienced so far, which I never would have thought, is this: the people you start with are not necessarily the people that you finish with. And that for me is something that I didn't realize in the very beginning, because I'm a very loyal person. And if you don't manage your expectations, you could be very disappointed. So you can't expect others to be as loyal to you as you are to them. And that for me has been the most surreal moment of all, is that the people you start with are not the same people necessarily that you finish with. And friends can become strangers, and strangers can become friends.
So true, man. That's it. You got to keep reaching up, and the influence in your space, the people who you hang out with, you resonate with. You want it to be people who you resonate with. Otherwise, it kind of pulls you back down, right? You see that happen in groups. It could be your high school friends. It could be college buddies. You start to maybe advance in a certain area of your life, and they're trying to pull you back in, and they're not even doing that like with collective thought. They're just acting like, no, we like what we got. We got this club kind of figured out. And it's like, no, you know what? I have this vision and growth. Just like you talked about the gallery, the same thing applies with your friends and your close connections. I think it's great to see someone like yourself who you're not afraid to beat to your own drum, right? And dance to your own beat, right? So you're not looking for someone to tell you who you are. You know who you are inside. And I could feel that. That resonates with me. And that's who you've been. And I think that's what makes you great, right? And I think that's really amazing. So we're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. We're going to give some love to our sponsors. We'll be right back with David Drebin. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with David Drebin. Remember, you can connect with him on social media. I have all the links clickable in the show notes, as well as his website, daviddrebin.com. So, David, when creating art, what elements would you say make a great piece in your opinion? Is there like a little bit of a formula or magic trick that happens, or is it always improv?
For me, I just have to get all the right ingredients together, the right subject, the right location, the right lighting, the right story. It all starts with a story. And you have to have a story to tell. And you have to want to tell a story. You have to almost be obsessed with making the image, and nothing will stop you from making the image. That's where it all starts from, an obsession to create something that I have to do this, and nothing can stop me from making this image. That's my process. And then once you start, you pivot and alter direction while you're in it. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start with an idea, and then you have to fluctuate depending on what's happening in the moment itself.
So do you kind of visualize like immediately what you feel like the end result will look like first, and you kind of reverse engineer it? Like what kind of lighting you'll need, what colors you need?
Let me give you an example. Right now, you're looking at this view. This is my apartment in New York. Okay, that's a view over New
Mhm.
York. I have not made a single photograph in my place yet. I moved in here 6 months ago. I have to find the right person to make the image with the right styling, and I have the right location. And then once I put that all together, I'll figure out the story once they're here, whether it's using binoculars, whether it's using cameras that I have. You just got to start with a scene in your mind, and then you have to make it happen.
And you've done that, man. You've made it happen. You've made some incredible pieces of artwork, and you also made this into a career. It's not just a hobby for you. And I feel like there's a lot of artists that are tuning in, and artists can be in so many different fields. It could be musicians as well. You know, music's their thing more than canvas, and music is painting on canvas too. It's just in a different version of it, right? So there's people who are in love with art. They're committed to it. They're obsessed with it, and maybe what they're hearing from their sphere of influence is you got to get a real job, right? Hey, go to college, get a real job, whatever. And almost like you were kind of cynical too in the beginning, like that buddy that you saw that was doing photography, you kind of were like,
I never laughed at anybody more than the guy who influenced me the most to become who I am. I'll say it again. I never was more critical.
yeah.
I never laughed at anybody more than my number one inspiration, who, if it wasn't for him and the photographs that he took, I never would have been on this path. And I still call him to this day, thank him for inspiring me and apologizing for making fun of him for trying to be a photographer. And he never became a photographer. He became a gardener, ironically enough.
Wow. So would you tell someone who they say like, yeah, either mom and dad or whoever's saying like, I got to get a real job. How can they pursue this and actually turn it into a career? What would you recommend?
The most important thing is to listen to your own voice and to build a relationship with the
Mhm.
universe and try to figure out the reason why you were born. The two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figured out why you were born. So it has to
That's,
come from an
yeah.
emphatic yes and true passion deep within, and never ending, relentless pursuit. Never ending, relentless pursuit over a lifetime. That's the advice I gave myself.
That works well for entrepreneurs tuning in, anybody, man. Whatever you have a book you want to write, you have artwork you want to create, music you want to play at the highest level. If your dream, like mine when I was a little kid, was to just play on stage in front of a group of people or get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like dream that big and then take the massive amount of actions, like you said, stay dedicated. That's excellent advice. The quote that you said, I forget who originally said that, but it's a beautiful thing. It's like the two most important days, again, your first day and the day that you realize what your purpose is on this planet, right? Those are the two key moments. That's awesome, brother. I want to showcase some of your work. So if you want to just name some things out by title and then give me that artwork so I can put it up here on the screen. But what are a couple pieces you'd like to showcase in your gallery?
What's interesting is what I've realized is that the title of the artwork is as important as the artwork itself. So I've made many books with my publisher Tenois in Germany. We've done 7 books together. We're working on our 8th book right now, and the title of the book is called Flirting with Danger. And its cover is a photograph of a plane landing in St. Barth's at the airport, which is very, very risky landing. And that's the actual title of the photograph. It's called Risky Landing, with a book called Flirting with Danger. So the titles are as interesting as the art itself.
Yeah, and it's similar to a song, right? The title of the song makes you think a little bit, maybe makes you wanna play
Titles
it
are
a
so
second time and
important.
see if you missed something, yeah. That's really cool. I'm a big, like, '90s grunge fan, and I remember just some of my favorite bands, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Chili Peppers, they always had really interesting you'd get the album art, and literally I had, like, the CD album art. I always loved buying it. Come home, peel that plastic wrap off, flip through the booklet. It's artwork in there. You look at the song titles, you listen to the whole thing as one experience, right, top to bottom. I would just be like mesmerized, like just taken back by like how cool it was, that whole album. Some of the titles were just like super creative and clever, made you want to like dive into it. And I think like Pearl Jam, one time, one of their songs is just Red Dot. I don't know if you remember the album Yield, but like it made me think I got to hear what the song is because it's just a red dot like in the track listing. It's just another part of being unique and creative and letting your creativity shine, your imagination shine. Like once you create something and then you put an interesting title behind it, what represents what it means to you. Someone may never understand it, even with the title, right?
Even your name. Sometimes I meet people and they go, "What's your name?" I think people have to earn your name. So sometimes, like, I'll meet somebody and they'll say, "What's your name?" And I'll say, "My name is Man." Because they'll never forget when I say my name is Man. Because they're like, "Hey, man." I said, "How'd you know my name?" So when I meet people, I say my name is Man. But if I tell people my name is David, they'll often forget your name, even though it's a common name. So I just call myself Man sometimes. "What's your name?" "My name is Man." "Hey, man, how'd you know my name?" I think that your name is so important. And it's amazing how often people will ask you what your name is and then forget what your name is. But if you tell them your name is Man, they'll never forget your name is Man.
Yeah, because you made that moment, you made that impact, the influence on them, that little spark of this
Yeah.
guy's interesting. What's he talking about? I just want to give you some more kudos here. I got lost on your website. I was admiring all your work. So many unique pieces, beaming with creativity. I want to talk about the falling in love glass structure, which is cool. Then there's the San Francisco dreamscape, which was really cool with the red balloons. You had that kind of the red balloons are being released over the Golden Gate Bridge. Then there's a similar shot in New York City. I noticed that the color red frequently is the center of attention in your art. Is that also intentional?
I didn't realize that red was such a prominent theme in my work until I made so many photographs. And someone like you said to me, I was going through your website and I realized that red is a prominent theme in your work. So sometimes you have to do things
hmm
to look back later to realize what you did and why you did it, that you don't realize at the time why you're doing it.
I have the red in my logo. The BG is be great and be grateful. I think it pops, man. It just kind of catches attention.
That's beautiful. Be great. Be great.
Be great and be grateful. Yeah, those are the two things I always remind myself every morning and night.
Can I show you my inspiration? Can I show you my inspiration?
Let's do it. That's what
I'll
we're
show you.
here
Hold
for.
on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Back in the 90s, when I graduated from Parsons School of Design and I had nothing going on, I used to write a diary to myself. And this is from Friday, September 28th, 1998. Pages and pages and pages of how miserable I was in New York. Let me just read you the first paragraph. It says, first sentence says, "Hi, I'm miserable, drained, exhausted, and feeling helpless. I'm back in New York after a great summer. I have nothing to do. I have 7 portfolios now and I hate everybody. I spend 99% of my time complaining since I graduated from Parsons. Is it all worth it? I'm so negative and I find my existence to be so fucking depressing. I barely have any social reactions in the city of millions. I find myself weak, angry, and sad. I surrender." 1998. And now I look
Wow.
back at the struggle as the most
hmm
beautiful years. And I look at these diaries,
hmm
these entries that I wrote 25 years ago that were so gut wrenching at the time to write, that our most prized possessions are the diary entries I wrote when I was struggling at the most precarious time.
There's something about being in that moment, and obviously you wouldn't say, "Hey, I wish this on somebody," but when you're in that moment, it happens. And I keep going back to music. I'm a musician, so I'm just trying to relate to you that way. I've never really gotten much behind the camera. I feel like I'd be a great photographer because I have a good vision for that. I'm more of a videographer, just a good cinematic eye. But yeah, there's something about, look at the best music, I think of Nirvana, I think of just bands that wrote the like beautiful music, but you could feel that feeling, the pen to the paper of your story that comes through. It could come through in your artwork, comes through in your story. You hope that somebody gets through it and can get help and obviously end up being okay. But there's something about being real in that moment that makes it special. You can't fake it. That's why when someone like they get in the studio, and I'm not going to name names, but it could be like a celebrity who already has fame and fortune, and they're like, I'm going to become a recording artist, and they go record, and like they're trying to make some relevant music, and it just doesn't hit because they weren't actually in that space. They're not writing the song from that darkness of creativity. It doesn't have to be dark. It could be, you could be singing about falling in love. You could have a nice Sinatra song, or it could be Sinatra's got some really deeper songs that are dark too, but you feel it when it emotes. You know what I mean?
People can smell fake, ingenuine people a mile away. So if you don't come from an authentic place, you'll be found out eventually and you'll never last.
Now it's more true than ever because people know and they find out about you quick. There's like no degree of separation. Everybody's connected. The big word is connection and connectivity on social media. So yeah, absolutely. Question, and I know we only have a couple more minutes. Talking about touring, I see you've been on touring. Is that part of your gig? Like, are you intentional about being on tour? And then I see that you got different shows that you're doing and making different connections with your work being displayed and featured in different places. How does that work? Do you get a phone call and they invite you, or do you have to kind of hustle and try to like get noticed and then get your foot in the door? How does that all work?
I have relationships that I've built all over the world for the last few decades. And like a musician, as an artist slash entrepreneur or even entrepreneur, I think it's important to travel to different cities all over the world and have exhibitions and meet with collectors and work with galleries because to make it on an international level, you have to be international and you have to constantly be on tour. I've had shows in Stockholm, Paris, London, Vienna, Berlin, Miami. It's important to be global if you want to make it at a global level. So you have to constantly be on tour, having exhibitions and meeting your collector base and your galleries that you work with all over the world because it's a relationship business. It's not just about creating the art. It's about the relationships that you make along the way. In fact, I remember the relationships more than the art itself.
I forget who I was talking to recently. It might have been even a show I was listening to talking about show business. There's the business side of it, or whatever your business is, right? Sports is a business too. And art is a business. I never heard entrepreneur, man. I like that. That's awesome.
I'm not an artist. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Combination
Yeah.
of an artist and an entrepreneur. And I'm not in the art world. I'm in the art business.
It's so true because you could do what you're doing and it's no problem if somebody's doing this and they stay in their apartment, whatever, and it stays there, the pen to paper, maybe their artwork just stays as doodles and if that's all they want it to be and they're fine and that's happy. But if you want to do the level of stuff that you're doing, it's important to get those connections, shake those hands, go on tour. You're not maybe get a yes every time, but you're going to be mingling with the right people. They eventually see your work, know that you're the real deal, and then you get in there and then you get known. You're David Drebin becomes a known person that they want in their gallery based on your reputation. I think that's so important for people to listen to is like, you got to get out there. You got to get out there, keep meeting people. You don't know who's going to be your next connection to the person at this gallery who's looking for your artwork. You don't know who that is, but if you kind of hibernate too long or too much, it ends up setting you up for limitations, right? So I want to think of it this way. I know you talked about having some of your pieces and things featured in a book. Does that book also tell your story or is it mostly artwork?
The books I've made tell my story through the artwork, but I've never really made a book
Okay.
that tells my story.
I got you. Is that something you're planning on doing?
Never know what the universe has in store. I do a lot of podcasts. I like doing public speaking. I like to inspire, the youth of today to believe in their dreams and show them these diary entries that I wrote to myself about how miserable I was and how hard it was. And now these are my most prized possessions in my life. Miserable, I'm miserable, I'm miserable, I'm miserable. Now I'm so happy that I was once miserable and I went through these experiences because feelings come and go. And sadness follows gladness, and gladness follows sadness. So don't forget that because everything is fleeting, including your own life.
Yeah, nothing's guaranteed, man. Dude, that's really powerful what you just said. I don't want to like look past it, but the fact that you have this reflection on going back to some of your darker days that make you appreciate your better days, your gladness, right? I think that's super important for people to do. To we don't always go back. That's why I say be grateful. To go back and just those little things. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be literally that you turn around and you see that there's a blue sky over your head. I mean, it could be that simple. It could be the most little things. It could be absolute beautiful things and relationships you're proud of and excited about. And just the fact that you get to do what you love, man. And that's a gift that you get to tour the world and you're an international artist. But it's not because you got lucky. That's for damn sure. Like you worked your face off. You're obsessed with it. You're talented first and foremost. Without the talent, it doesn't go anywhere. You're just someone who's blowing smoke. So you got it all, man. The reason I wanted you on the show, the mission of my show is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. So, how do I do that? Not just by me over here talking and talking every episode. I bring people like you on to share your story. And you're a unique guest. Like, I've had a lot of entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, authors. I've had people who started up many businesses and been highly successful venture capitalists, amazing people. I've never had someone like yourself that's an entrepreneur. And so this is unique for me. This is a kind of a one of one conversation. I've done over 160 episodes. When this comes out, it's probably going to be more like 170. I've never had this conversation with anyone before. So this feels really good, feels organic. And speaking of stories, what I want to do to kind of put a bow on this conversation is imagine it this way, hypothetically, you're the author and protagonist in your own life story, and you get to write the ending, and God willing, you live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back on it, you're reflecting on it, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
It's very simple. Your legacy is ultimately how you make other people and how you made other people feel. The end. Whether it's through music, art, poetry, whatever it is that you do in life, your legacy will always come down to how you make and how you made other people feel. The end. I like to make people feel amazing through art. And I've accomplished that all over the world. My phone rings off the hook from people who tell me they put their art above their beds in their living rooms and how they love their artworks in their homes and they even use it as their screen grab on their phone. And that makes me feel great because I like to make other people feel great.
The whole mission isn't just to put artwork out there, it's to know that people are connecting with it and appreciate it. And it's the best feeling. That's why when I play music too, like I've played in front of 3 drunk people at the bar and I've played in front of a few thousand. I've been blessed. I've played worship music at my local church. All of those different experiences, the reason that I ever feel fulfilled is knowing that other people are feeling a special way, listening, tuning in, tapping into that music, you know? And so that's awesome that you've had that experience. And what a mic drop moment to end the episode. Just so good right there, man. The way you make people feel. There's a great quote too. It's people don't remember what you say to them. They remember how you make them feel. That's exactly right.
That's why I introduced myself as man.
You're the man. Hey, you are the man. This is a freaking fantastic interview. I've had a lot of fun talking with you. Any last words you'd like to leave our audience with that we didn't touch on, or is there anything you want to promote? The floor is yours. How would you like to wrap this up?
Well, I always think about the best advice anyone ever gave me, including my own advice to myself today and my younger self, which is only 2 words. And those 2 words are be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself, man. So true. And
See,
when
you
I
just
meet
call me man
someone,
again.
I
You just
have
call
a
me man again. You just call me man again.
there it is, man.
There you go.
I I have a really good BS meter, and when I interview someone within like 3 seconds, I can usually tell. Like once I do their introduction and we're talking for a few minutes, I can tell when someone has that kind of that it factor. And you have it. And I just really appreciate your time and you being on the show, brother. This is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing to watch your career go in different ways, different events that you're doing. I'm going to keep tuned in with your social media. Like I said to everybody who's tuning in, thank you for being with us. Check David out at his website, daviddrebin.com, and his social media is clickable in the show notes. David, dude, really appreciate you being here. My man, be great and be grateful, and let's stay connected.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.